Okay, got it. Perfect.
Lovely. So welcome, everybody. I'm delighted to introduce you to my new, very old friend, Roisin, who it feels like family, feels like my whole life. I've known her and many, many other lives to boot. So I'm delighted to share some of her wisdom with you today, and to open your minds up to a new way of feeling what's going on in the world today, and how you might be able to relate to that, and how you might be able to find some peace and find your way to spirit. And Roisin does this with people all the time. She's just an absolutely extraordinary person. And I just recently spent some time with her in Ireland and had my eyes opened in myriad ways. So I'm really thrilled to be able to talk to her today. So Roisin, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do nowadays, a little bit about how you got to where you are now, and anything else that you think people might like to know about you.
Well, hello, Susan. Lovely to connect with you again. Through all these lifetimes, as you said, many lifetimes and many yet to come. So I'm Roisin Campbell, and I'm based in Ireland, and I'm Irish. I am a seer, as they say in Ireland. They call me a seer. So I would be like a spiritual visionary. I have sight, and I have sound, and I have experience, and I have feeling. And when I'm with anybody, whether it's a human being, an animal, or a plant, I can hear it, I can feel it. Some people would say it's a blessing, but sometimes it can be a curse, because you can't decide what you want to feel. You just feel, and you hear, and you see. So I'm now 51, and from I was 3.5, I had a near-death experience. And when I come back, it seemed to be that was the catalyst to, open up that energy, and my parents start to hear me talk in unusual ways about certain things. And I used to say, that I am magic, and I wanted a hat, and I wanted a black cat because I was magic, and I said I could help people because I was magic. So of course they thought this child had lost her mind, but as we move through life, we realize it all depends which mind you're using. So I would call myself like a mystic in that way, a spiritual mystic, and I can't read very well. I'm dyslexic in reading, in numbers, in retaining information. So I just listen, and that's where my information comes from. I hear a voice. And when people say to me, what do you mean you hear a voice? The voice that I hear when I come back from taking the tablets was a mistake, as I thought they were sweeties as a child, was the voice of God. That's what I believe that I heard, and still hear.
Beautiful, yeah. And I can attest that there's no choice in what you do. I can attest that you have to be on duty, on call, and what's so beautiful is you just accept it with such good grace. It was really an extraordinary privilege and an experience of a lifetime to see you going through this in your everyday schedule. So I'm super grateful for having had that. I want people to understand how we met. Because I found that just so beautiful and so extraordinary. So I'm going to let you tell that story, because that was somehow your initiative, and I just want to let people know.
Yeah. So it's a day in the life of Roisin Campbell is the moment I wake up in the morning, I hear the voice saying, this is what's going to happen today. So it's like, a narrator telling me what's going to happen. It's not about me telling it what's going to happen. And I was sitting one day, and it said, we want you to go on to YouTube and to find this lady. At that time, I didn't know it was yourself. So I said, okay. And what they would usually do is they would tell me to put in a few syllables of a name, and then that brings it up, and they go through and they say, it's this one. This is how it happens, It's like the spiritual navigation comes down, and they said, this one. And, I don't ask any questions. They just said, pick this lady because she's coming to Ireland. I said, okay. And I says, are you telling her or am I telling her, And I have a beautiful relationship with God, as I say. We laugh, we shout, we argue, we suffer together. It's just, that's it. That's what it's like.
And
So
I just want to clarify also that at the time that was your message, that was your guidance, I had no plans to come to Ireland. I've been house hunting. That wasn't in the plan. So
your new home in Ireland, you know. So then I sent you a message and to say that I would like to book in, because I thought, how am I going to get this lady? I better book in with her. And then I sent in the message, if you get a cancellation, please kick me in soon, because I knew they wanted you in to Ireland soon. So I thought, right, I'll do this. And then we had our session. And then just at the end of the session, they said, now you can say to her, you know, the things I had said to you about yourself. And then they said, right, she's coming to Ireland. And that was it. It was so easy, because you were so awake, Susan. You know, when we looked then at our charts later, we realized our alignment from past life. And, you know, that's what it was. It was you were calling me, I was calling you, and it was that alignment to say, you would say yes the minute I said, come to Ireland.
Yeah,
you know,
quite powerful. Yeah, for me there was no resistance, for sure. It just felt like, oh, this is what I needed. This is it. You were here, you were at the session in principle for your chart, and then by the end of it I said, I think I need to see you. so I was ready for it. Yeah, so wonderful. And so I want to just have a sense of what you're picking up on, the energy of what we're experiencing collectively these days, and how that might show up in the people that you're seeing, or in things that are happening in your awareness.
Well, how I would see the world as we're evolving, and as God would say to me, we're coming out of the Piscean age, and we all know that, into the Aquarius age. And they said that the COVID was the reset. That's what I was told. So I just trusted that, and I got an awful lot of guidance connected to that before, you know, the COVID hit the world. I was told to set up my online meditation classes 2.5 months before COVID hit. And the being came to me and says, you must do this, because and that did happen exactly. So it is really a reset. You know, it's a wee bit like the planets, I'm being told, they really are the workings of the clock. We are the hands, and the cosmos is the clock that moves us. That's how we really don't have, how would you say, an option. We have to move, you know. And the more we learn to move that way, it's like the natural rhythm of the cosmos, not our mental or our ego rhythm, but the natural rhythm. We really then start to fall into the place. So there's more light, as you would know as an astrologer, there's more light, so much light than ever. Like, I am now 51. I have never experienced, 54. I've never experienced so much light. Really in all my life. In the last 2 years, the light has been so profound that it actually can make people very, very sick, because their bodies aren't prepared for their light. Their shadow hasn't been transformed. So people are finding an awful lot of illnesses coming up. But to me, all illness is to do with energy that has not been transformed, that creates an illness. And that's the way I've always lived my life, in that way.
Yeah.
At the moment, what I'm experiencing is that we have a defined line between those that are awakened and those that are asleep. It's almost like there's a line has happened, God was saying to me, and those that are asleep will be staying asleep, and those that are awakened are going to go even higher. You know, that's the catalyst of the energy. So I can see that very much so. People are contacting me that are waking up overnight in shock, and they can't cope. They said, why is this happening? I don't know what to do. And then they're coming to someone like me that before they would have thought, you know, I'm not going to someone like that. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
And I have men at 70, I have women at 50, I have children coming at 15, and it's just wakening up overnight for people. So there's an awful lot of, how would I say, hearts being called. Yeah. That actually knew that they were waiting on it. I just cleared the block there, and I say, you knew this. Like, everybody knows what's going to happen. They may be asleep, but they do know what's going to happen. And when they awaken, then they say, oh yeah. You know?
And what would you think is the obstacle to that waking up? Or could you, or maybe another way of looking at that would be, what would you say to people who are afraid of making that transformation?
Yeah, when we look, Suzanne, at shadow and suffering are the same thing. Okay, that's what I see, shadow and suffering. We all have a story that we come in to live, and we all have different lessons that we have to live through that story. No one is to blame, no matter what the lesson is. Death, suffering, abuse, it's just a lesson, and we're meant to learn how to transform that into our light, into our gold. And the more shadow you have, the more suffering you have, the better gold that you will get. And the gold is awareness, the gold is essence, the gold is, it's like a magnet force that you can pull things to you. So the more clear you are, the more you can pull to you. The more darker you are, the more darkness you pull to you. You know, it is quite amazing how once we learn about our energy field and that we focus on the self, our ego is, it's all about somebody else's issue. Somebody else is causing this to me. No. Own everything that has happened to you, and then let's transform it. It's really powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Really
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very, very beautiful. So you have a center that you've been working at for many, many years. You're known. You're a known entity. Many people know you internationally, and you also have a new idea of what that should look like. So there's something transforming in your life very powerfully too. Would you like to share a little bit about your work and what that center is going to look like?
Yes, well, I'm moving out of my old center, which is called, well, I would say the baby, which was Rainbow Lighthouse, and I always had a vision of a Trinity House, of people coming together where they could live on the land with me. They could find this power of God within them and use it in their everyday life. So the new Trinity House that we're just opening this year, we're in the transition from Rainbow Lighthouse to Trinity House. It's a place of, refuge in many ways for people that want to come and experience transforming the shadow into gold, and really experiencing the miracles that can happen within you when you realize how you can do this yourself. Like, God is not outside of you. God is you, inside of you, in every moment. And it's really owning that. And that's what the house is about. It's to bring everybody together. And it has to be called a house, Spirit said, because it's about bringing everybody home.
Beautiful.
Find themselves in a home. It's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz story. That's a journey of Dorothy going on a journey to find herself, to find the new brain, to find the courage, and to find the heart. And all she had to do was to click her heels, and that's your earthly body, owning it and letting the light come down and finding home within yourself. So the Trinity House is really, it's like a small Celtic Irish village with different little parts in it. And we've opened a recent path for people to walk around. We even have our own church chapel built, a small church chapel built that you'd seen yourself. And because I think what is in the world, we are so separated and confused about belief systems and things like that, that God has always said to me, there's only one faith, which is God. That's it. And that's really it. It's not complicated. God is not complicated. God, as the essence, has become complicated. Right. By the mind. We are not complicated beings. We are really so simplistic, and the complications have come on top of us, and where we've lost our way and confused. So it's a wee bit like saying to people, we're meant to suffer. That's a part of the journey, but we're meant to transform it into the gold, know. Yeah, so I think the awareness of my work is to make people aware, this is your suffering, okay? Right? Everybody suffers. No one gets out of a human being without suffering, but it's how to use it and let it manifest into your life. And I just can do that. And that's what I've come in to do. Brilliant. Would you be comfortable sharing the story of your chapel and because that, I think, would be a beautiful glimpse into a day in the life of Roisin and how the chapel came together for you? Okay, so the chapel was a small area for holding a lawnmower and the two dogs. That was a Tara and Nessa. And when I walked into this little building with the damp coming down the walls, God said, this is my chapel. I thought, oh, let's make it difficult. Yes, we learn through the suffering. So we decided, I got a guy in to look at the chapel and to see the builder, and then I had to phone this special man. So I was told to go on the internet again, like yourself, how I met you. And they said, put this man's name in. He's the man that's going to plaster the chapel and do it in the way that it has to be done. And I phoned this man, and he says, I'm a bit far away from where you are, get someone locally. I says, no, I says, you know, God wants you, so that's how it works. And that's actually how I talk to people. I'm very, you know, I'm very strong in who's talking to me. And I love it, and it gives me such a power and such a joy. So I want to empower people by saying, you were chosen. I didn't choose you. I heard I had to pick you, like Susan, you were chosen. And then the man came down, and as he came down and came in to see me, and we were looking at the building, then I said, there's something very important about you that has to do this chapel. And it was a beautiful story. Then he said, it's my mother. And I says, yes. And he said, my mother was a nun, and she left the convent. And he says, this must be it. And she passed a couple of years ago. I says, well, she wants you to do this chapel. It's amazing how things work. It was really nothing to do with me. It's about his journey doing that, so he receives something.
Yes.
And that's how the chapel really, you know, worked.
And
so,
because he received something, all of us receive something. This is just beautiful. Yeah.
It's like, it's, you know, it's beyond us. You can't, it's not about, you don't own God. You already are. You don't, you know, you only, you know, you don't, we already are. We just have to accept who we are.
Right.
And really disidentify with, don't be too connected to the Roisin or the Susan or whoever you are, because we're just passing through. You know, there's many vessels that we'll pass through. This is why we met in our past life, as we know, and we're just this energy passing through vessels, but we give too much attention to the identity of the vessel and the belief system, the nationality and the color and the gender. Let that go. You know, we are just these energies expressing and creating, and meant to touch each other. We're meant to touch each other and leave that essence. You know, so it is our own magic. Like, this isn't rocket science. You don't have to do, you know, any big tests or things like that there. It's just learning about yourself, really, how would you say, peeling the onion off through clearing, through releasing. And if people say, what's clearing and releasing? It's when I see people, I see like energy all over them, you know, so much energy, and I'm trying to find the person in it. And then I see parts of themselves walking beside them. Some people might have 2 parts, might have 5 parts. And then what I do is I talk to that part. So somebody has said to me, how do you know what to say or what to feel? I says, you're telling me. That's it. You know, I can't tell you anything that you don't tell me. And that's how it really works. And then once you start to connect, those parts start to step in. I call it the outer child coming in. You know, so, and it really is quite powerful. You know, I don't think we can explain it to people. It has to be experienced, doesn't it?
Because your words land really powerfully. That's the thing. It's not vague. You know, it's not things that could be just conjured up out of thin air, a kind of a generality. They're very specific.
They are very specific and very detailed. And you know, like when the chapel had to open, it was to bring people. I said, what do we want to do here with this chapel? I says, because there's so many belief systems. God was laughing. He says, there's only one. What was that? He said 455 religions. He says, also speak to the same essence. He says, there's only one. He says, bring everybody back under the roof and let everybody have the faith in one. And I thought, wow, and show them how to transform the suffering. So it's probably, you know, I don't know, a very new way of connecting with the God essence in that way, you know. And I have great faith. I have a very, very strong faith in what I do and all beings that come in to help, you know. And, you know, there's many energies that are there to help us. So there's so much, there's more helping us than against us, but we're not aware of that.
Right.
You know, we're not aware of that. And then some people sometimes think, you know, like I walk into a room, and the moment I walk into the room, I feel everybody else. So I can look at someone and say, oh, this is this, this is this. And I can't leave the room. It's not like I walk out the room and that's it over. No. The minute I connect, that's it. I have to do the work. I can't, if I'm in, you know, Marks and Spencer's, Dunnes Stores, it doesn't matter where it is. I have to start doing the work there and then. So it can be quite, it's an amazing life. It can seem a little bit eccentric.
A little bit.
You know what I mean?
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit. But once you start to live it and learn it, you think, why am I living the other way?
Exactly. Yeah. Why not live in magic? Exactly.
Why not live in magic? And, we're in the new energy of the new Aquarius, which is the mystical is the now.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. It's spiritual science. It's divine science now. It's coming all together. We have to become more connected in all ways
Right.
and more cooperating with each other in that way. I think we're coming out of competition where a lot of people may have been in competition with each other and trying to say, I'm better at saying this or better at doing that. And it's not. It's about bringing all our beauties together, all our talents. And I mean it, everybody has a talent. And saying, like I say, somebody, give me your talent and let me help you get it better. And then you can use it. I think that's so important as we move forward, isn't it, Susan?
Absolutely. What would you say to anybody listening in terms of how they want to feel a little bit of this in their life? What could they do right now that would help them just feel that, letting go of resistance or feeling a little bit more of how big they could be?
Yeah, so in that sense, I would say to them, the moment you're born, you're given a name. Okay? You're told that you're someone else. You're given the nationality, the family, the belief system. You imagine that you're being taught to be someone else, and this being that you are is thinking, what? I have to be this person. So when you sit with yourself and you're in your own thoughts and you pass through your thought, so people find it very hard. So if you're having a negative thought, I bring that negative thought really close to me and I really sit with it. So it's isolated on its own. And I said, what are you going to do now? I've got you so focused. Why do I need you? And then it'll disappear and it lets you go into the essence and you start to, really understand yourself more. So people could be struggling mentally because there's so many energies focusing on us, so many voices in our mind. People could be, having attacks energetically, with different things that affect them. And many of us are not new souls. We're connected to so many lifetimes. Like it's amazing how amazing we are and how multidimensional energy. So you have to see yourself bigger than the person you are. You have to go beyond that. And don't be worrying about the ego, because the ego wants to control you and say, this is who you are, and the ego is mind-based. But as a being, you are a heart-based being. And I would say to everybody, look outside of yourself, because the child used to do that. The child was wonder. And then the child ends up being encapsulated into the name, the study, whatever it is. And then you lose that sense of wonder and awe, and you become almost like there's boundaries around us as human beings, as you know. So I don't like boundaries. I break the rules. Like I really do. That's my personality.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure sometimes maybe, if someone has a lot of boundaries and they come up against me, it could give them, fear. But I'm only to get the best for people. I want to press people when they're with me. As you know, I don't stop. I say, come on, let's do it. Let's clear it. Let's work at it. Because my job is to shine the light on your light. And say,
and you do that beautifully. Yeah.
Look how beautiful you are. Like everybody really is beautiful, but they don't know it because they're looking in the glass mirror of humanity, which is a false mirror.
Yeah.
The beauty's beyond the eyes. So that's what I would say to people, look outside of this identity, sit and really allow yourself just for a moment to feel the space that you are. And all the things that has happened you and that are happening you can be transformed. They really can. But guess who can transform them? Yourself, once you learn about yourself from this energy point. Don't know if that explains it.
I think so, yeah. What I also want to just emphasize to people is that you're living this life rich in energy and understanding and depth, and you're living it in the world. So you're selective about what you do, for sure, but and that's helpful for everyone to be, but but you're not avoiding the world in any way. And you're just going there, whether it's at the gas pump or in the cafe or wherever, and you're connecting and you're picking up on life. And so
Yes,
it's not there's no context that has to be prepared, or a special place or magical situation or configuration
that's
of the
right.
stars. It's just there.
Yeah, and that's really an important point is, when I would do events, and, my husband used to say to me many years ago, we're together 21 years now, but he used to say to me, what paperwork are you giving the people to read before and I said, paperwork? I said, for what? I says, once they step in, they will tell me. And he found that difficult because he was a mind-based, and that's what most people have to be to survive in the world. I'm not. When I walk out and I go for the petrol or go for the groceries, I am 24/7 on call for the divine to touch someone. And they may say, say to this person, this happened to you last night. And I'm standing at the checkout thinking, I have to talk to this lady. How is this going to be possible? And they'd say, drop something, pick it up, and then you make a conversation with her. I do a lot of this, but I know I'm here to serve, so I live it.
Yes, yes. And I
really,
also want to emphasize that that you just used that word service, where you're not going around trying to fix people. This is important. It's not like, oh, I have a plan for this individual, I want to do this with that person. It's really, having observed you really in action, it's really a sense of, oh, this is possible in this moment. This moment is presenting this possibility, and you don't have an outcome in mind.
No.
It's just this process is underway now, and that was magical to watch.
Yeah, it is lovely, and it's beautiful because there's no agenda.
Yeah.
And I'm walking, and I could be going to the chemist, and somebody's walking down the street, and God says, could you touch this person before you go into the chemist? And I say, okay. And then I'll say something, and I don't be afraid at all, because I'm so connected, and it's all love, and it's all beauty. Never ever in my life has someone said, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Never, because whatever is coming to them, it's so strong in their truth that they react in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with me. I'm not here. It's what's coming through me to touch someone.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And everyone has that. And as God said, the more we touch, the more we fill up.
Right.
And where we're taught to, the more we collect, we need this, we need that to be us. No, that makes us empty and laden and heavy and angry and whatever. The more we give of ourselves and touch, the more we are touched. And like, that is a true energy. I can't stop touching people, because it's beautiful. Why would you not? I think,
Absolutely.
So that, it's the beauty of it. So back to when they picked, your name that day, and I was smiling, and I said, right, I make a session with this lady, and then she'll be over in Ireland. And it's so funny, because I couldn't tell you at the start, but I knew you would be coming over, but also deep down you knew too. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's for sure. And there's always the calling there. Yeah, it's more about the context.
So quick, so aligned.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens when I touch someone. They get so aligned, they get it. I think truth knows truth.
Yes. Oh, this I'm for sure. Absolutely.
Isn't that right?
In multiple cultural settings, you don't have to speak the same language. You can make eye contact, and this one knows. This one knows.
Yeah. And then, because there's a lot of fear-based energies in us.
Yeah.
But Spirit always says to me, take the F off fear and listen. You have the ear. Listen really all the time. What's really going. What's really going on. And when you talk to somebody, or when somebody's against you, we're always reacting to the egos, are reacting to each other. It's not the being. The egos are reacting. What does this person look like? What are they saying? Have they more than me? Do they know more than me? I don't hear that. The minute I go in, the Spirit said, this person has a pain here, go in and talk to them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they have a crown on their head, or doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, how would you say, it doesn't have a filter, rich, poor, sick thing. It's who's ever in front of me that said, this is the message. And everybody, that comes in front of me will get a message. I know that because that's the way it works.
Wonderful. Let's talk about that. How can people get in front of you? I know you're going to be taking a much needed break now,
Yes.
and getting some rest, and also investing some of your time in creating the space that you want around you,
Yes.
and with the animals as well on the land. So I will put the website details in the details below the video, but how just let people know in general how they can reach out to you if they feel called to do this kind of work.
Yes, at the moment, I'm still on my, as I say, my first website, which is rainbowlighthouse.net. And they can, they can book a session with me. There's different ways. You can do an online session, or you can do a photograph clearing, because I just need the face and the date of birth, and it's all about energy. You have to understand, it's not about the physical. We are really clearing the energy. Or you can come to the Trinity House itself for a one-to-one. So that's how you can connect through rainbowlighthouse.net at the moment, and we're in the process of creating our Trinity House
Brilliant. Okay.
website. So that's really
once you have that new website up and running, I'll add that to the details under the video so people can also catch up on that one as well. So that's lovely. It's been just amazing speaking to you as always. You're just a real gift in my life, and I'm hoping to share this gift with as many people as possible, as people are watching you now. So any last words for anybody listening?
Any last words is who you think you are is not who you are. Definitely not.
Lovely.
So it's been lovely. It's been lovely, Susan. Really, I think, our journey has begun again in this lifetime. And thank you. I'm not a big media person. I don't be on media apart from my YouTube channel, Trinity House, but I'm not a media person. I'm too busy.
Yes, yes, exactly. You're actually your own media network.
Yes, I'm my own media network.
You don't need YouTube like the rest of us.
But it's really lovely to to speak to you today, and especially about the Trinity House, because it's going to be, as I say, a retreat center where people can stay and find themselves. And I just want people to find to come home and find home in themselves. That's it. We need to love each other, and we really need to support each other. You can't do it on your own. I can't do it on my own. No matter how gifted I am, I have to go through my own lessons, my own suffering, but I understand it differently now. So it's not about eradicating suffering, it's just about keep transforming it as it comes. And that's really who we are, Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely, Susan. Thank you so much, Dan, really.
Okay. Take good care, Roisin.
Okay, Dan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.